The Lifestyle Show, presented by Selina MacKenzie.
Here to tell us about his book, Your Stone Age Brain in the Screen Age, Coping with Digital Distraction and Sensory Overload. I'm hoping I'm going to pronounce his name right. Welcome to the show, Richard Cytowic. Is that correct, Richard?
Cytowic. And thank you for having me.
You're welcome. So tell us about the book.
Well, it's about digital distractions and how we're addicted to our screens. You hear people say it all the time. Oh, I'm addicted to my phone. I'm addicted to my phone. Well, they really are. And they get so far down the rabbit hole that they don't realize how strongly the devices, whether it's an iPad or a laptop or your television, how they are affecting our attention span.
And are our brains poorly equipped for this? Because, you know, you go back to the prehistoric world and everything was quite basic, wasn't it?
Yes, I mean, we didn't have all these kinds of distractions. The natural world was very calming. One of the antidotes I propose is, go outside and take a walk, sit under a tree, experience something green. Your brain needs a break, but it's not meant to be going nonstop all the time. And these devices they're like secondhand smoke. I mean, you're at an airport or a waiting room and the screen is on. It demands to be looked at. You can't not look away, and trying not to look at it takes a certain amount of energy. And that's one of the main themes of the book, is that I think it'll surprise a lot of people, is that the brain operates in a fixed bandwidth of energy, and no amount of diet, exercise, supplements, or Sudoku puzzles is going to be able to change that. So we have to work with the limit that we have. The brain is an energy hog. It consumes 20% of our daily calories, but it only takes up 2% of our body weight. And most of that energy goes to maintaining the physical structure that is pumping sodium and potassium ions across membranes. So there's very, very little energy left over for mental work, which is what we're really interested in. So this is why it's so easy to get distracted and doing things like trying to multitask. Our working memory simply can't hold two things at once.
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. I think we're all guilty of FOMO, fear of missing out. You know, that you hear the little buzzing on your phone and you think, well, I'll just check what it is. And, there's no need. We didn't used to 30 odd years ago.
Exactly. And that interruption really costs you a lot in terms of your brain energy. So I would say take regular breaks if you can. It's funny, we obsess over what food we put in our body, organic, non-GMO, no artificial food colorings, but nobody gives a thought to the mental garbage that we take in through our senses. And I think if you're able to change your perspective, you'll be able to start warding off all these distractions. And you'll find out that you'll be much more productive. You'll sleep better. You'll get a lot more work done.
Yeah, we often hear, Richard, about the blue light, and people say, because you mentioned about sleeping better, we shouldn't have our mobile phones even in the bedroom with us, let alone be on it. Is that all true?
It is true, is that the short wavelengths, predominantly blue, are highly energetic, and they disturb our circadian rhythms, particularly if we're exposed to it at the wrong time of day. And the wrong time of day is basically any time after sunset. The other factor is just general illumination. So, you should turn down the lights about 2 hours before you plan to go to sleep. Lower the level of illumination, because that also affects your circadian rhythms.
Is it not true? I mean, I understand. I said in the introduction to you at the beginning of the show that you say the human brain hasn't changed much since the Stone Age, let alone in the mere 30 years of the Screen Age. But don't we evolve as humans? Isn't it natural that our brains do evolve and
no,
cope?
Today's modern brain is no different from what it was 3 million years ago. Technology goes by leaps and bounds, exponential, but evolution doesn't say, it's been 10 years. Let's design a new limbic system. Let's design a new cortex. Let's change how the visual system works. We'll improve it. That's not how evolution works. It works by accretion, that is adding thing one to another. And once it comes upon a solution to a certain problem of how to live your daily life, it keeps it. It's like what the New Englanders call a main add-on house, where you add one room after another, then this house looks sort of like lopsided and crazy, but it works. And that's the same thing for the modern brain. So no, they don't change. We adapt.
Yeah.
We can adapt to any climate on the planet, from the Sahara Desert to the North Pole. But again, it takes a lot of energy to do that, and we can adapt to a point. But when we keep asking it to handle all this input, the brain tires, and it's as easy as that. It fatigues. And so I advise that we need breaks. Stand up, look out the window, do what the Dutch call Nixon, which means doing nothing. So look out the window, take a look at the leaves, look at the birds, whatever. And it doesn't need to be long. I mean, 20, 30 seconds is enough to basically act as a circuit breaker and calm your brain back down. But the best thing is to be in nature. Everybody knows that nature is restorative. Go to the beach, go take a walk in the woods. You just go eat your lunch in a park under a tree. That's enough. You don't need a big dose of exposure.
That sounds nice. I might do that today, actually. Don't
take your phone with you.
No, I know it'll be difficult though, but I will try. But what about our youth? Because if you think of somebody my age, I've been using mobile devices and computers for the last 30 odd years. But somebody who was born in, say, 2000 will have been using them all their life, or their adult life sort of thing. Is it going to affect them more as they get older?
Oh, I think it already has, because their attention spans are just awful, and they're not able to engage in linear thinking, like something that takes, like reading a novel or even a short story. They're used to gulping things one screen at a time. And then one of the big problems is that heavy screen exposure induces what I call virtual autism. That is, autistic-like symptoms in otherwise normal kids and even adults. And this is, of course, reduced eye contact, reduced socialization, reduced language, isolation. So, and the remarkable thing is, and I've had parents to say, my kid's a zombie. He's on his iPad or game console all the time. And if I try to take it away, he has a meltdown. We have a temper tantrum. So, the remarkable thing, though, is if you do take these devices away, that after a very short period of time, sometimes as little as 5 days to a week or two, these autistic-like symptoms revert and the kid goes back to being a happy kid.
Yeah, I think it's difficult. It must be very difficult nowadays, especially with children, because their peers all have the mobile phones and the iPads and whatever.
Starting in kindergarten, sure.
Yeah,
yes.
It's frightening.
And, the iPad is the worst babysitter in the world. I know parents say that it's the only thing that keeps him calm. Well, that may be true, but he's being addicted. And I think this constant exposure to an iPad in an infant and a toddler is a form of child abuse, because what you're doing is this screen is blocking their developing central vision. Babies start out with vision at about 2400. After about 3 or 4 months, color vision develops. But they are even the tiniest infant is absolutely captivated by a human face. Their eyes lock on. They smile and giggle and coo. And every parent and grandparent knows this. But they're undergoing a visual apprenticeship with the world. How do things look? Screens don't talk to a kid the way a parent would. They talk at them, and these static images or even cartoon images are nothing like what a real human is that you're engaging with in real time. So even though it's the only thing that makes them quiet, I would say, watch the iPad with the child for a short period of time, maybe FaceTime with grandma, who knows, but then go back and, play the games that you played when you were young, patty cakes, so big, grocery store, whatever. It's things that take imagination and that are active rather than just passively sitting there in front of this screen. That really affects the critical periods of development in young brains.
They used to say that about television in my day. Is that the same thing? If we were talking 30 years ago, would you be saying the same about television?
People did say that, but again, television was a fixed piece of furniture. You turned it on and you looked at it at certain times of the day to see the shows that you wanted, but you didn't sit in front of it all day long. You got up and played outside. You played with your siblings and your friends and all that. So the amount of exposure that we had to television is much smaller than what we have compared to, let's say, iPhones and iPads.
Yeah. Can I ask you, Richard, what synesthesia is?
Synesthesia. Well, everybody knows the word anesthesia, which means no sensation. Synesthesia means joined or coupled sensation. And there are children who are born with 2, 3, or all 5 of their senses hooked together. So that my voice, for example, is not only something that they hear, but they might also see it or taste it or feel it as a physical touch. They think everybody does this. And so it's only when they say something like, oh, my A is the most beautiful pink I've ever seen. What does yours look like? And they get this reaction like, you are really weird, that they realize that, this is something special. It's, and it turns out that synesthesia is these people are otherwise totally normal. And in fact, they have excellent memories. But it turns out that the trait is quite strong and common. It affects 4% of the population. It runs very strongly in family from either sex parent to either sex child. So I've seen it in 4 living generations and a history of it going back even further. So, and once you have it, it stays the same all your life. So It doesn't.
Interesting stuff. Well,
it's a perceptual trait, like having perfect pitch. You either have it or you don't have it. There's nothing you can do to develop it. There's nothing you can do to change it. It's there. It's part of who you are.
Yeah. Interesting stuff. Well, this particular book, if our listeners want to buy it, is called Your Stone Age Brain in the Screen Age, Coping with Digital Distraction and Sensory Overload. It's out now. We're selling it on our website, tre.radio. It's by Richard Cytowic. I hope I've said it right now. And I know you've written many other books and articles, Richard. Do you want to give your website out?
Oh, it's cytowic.net, CYTOWIC.net. Charlie Yellow Tango Oscar Whiskey Indigo Charlie.
Marvelous. It's not easy, but it's a beautiful name. Really interesting stuff. Sadly, I think it's going to be easier said than done, but it's certainly something to think about. And I'm certainly going to try and have a bit of a break. I'm going to try it this evening and hopefully it'll help. So thank you very much for sharing with us, Richard.
My advice to your listeners is be kind to your Stone Age brain. It's the only one you have.
That's very good advice. Thank you, Richard, for being on the show.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Bye-bye.